Hey guys, it's Christy and welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to be discussing if I could only keep 10 drugstore eyeshadow palettes, which 10 would I keep? So before we get into it, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel before you leave. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get into it. Okay, so I recently did this video with high-end eyeshadow palettes, so I will try to remember to link that one down below. That one was really hard. This one was also really hard, but much like my high-end video, it's going to be very, very obvious what brand is my favorite for affordable palettes. So I do tend to be very, very, very picky when it comes to drugstore eyeshadows in particular. I just don't feel like they've completely nailed the formulas quite the way high-end eyeshadows do. That being said, there are some really, really good ones. So if I can only keep 10 affordable palettes, it makes sense to me that I would want to keep some larger palettes because then I would get a better range of shades. So the first one I've pulled is the Colourpop Stone Cold Fox palette, and this one is definitely necessary. I love cool tones. I'm a big fan of the That's Taupe palette, but this one can give you a very, very similar effect, and you get so much more range. You get the similar effect from That's Taupe, but you get some more pinky shades in here as well, some silvers. It's just a really beautiful, beautiful mega palette. I love the options in here. The options are just endless. Of course, you're always going to get a cool tone look with this, but the range is so, so, so good. So I feel like it would be necessary to keep some mega palettes, which leads me to the next one that I would need to keep, and that would be the Gone Matte palette, because this is exactly what it describes. It is an all matte eyeshadow palette, and while this is probably not my most reached for palette currently, I do think it's such a staple because I am not somebody who likes to actually blend shimmer shades or metallics into my crease. I've just never liked it. You certainly can. I just personally don't like to do so, and sometimes palettes don't have all of the matte shades that you're looking for, and something like this can really, really save you on that. I love that you get some warm tones, you get some more neutral browns, you get some pinks, some purples, and some bluish gray type shades up here. I think this is such a great range. This is definitely a palette that could come in handy with so many different palettes that I can think of right off the top of my head that are more companion palettes, that are very shimmer heavy. This is the one that I would reach for to supplement that. So I feel like this would be a huge staple if I could only keep 10. I would also keep the only other mega palette I have, and that is the It's a Mood palette. So this is another one that is also not my most used palette from Colourpop. It is very, very colorful, but if I could only keep 10, I would definitely want something that gave me some of that range, some of that color, in case I was feeling inspired to play around a little bit. So this one does have some glitter, so if you want to go really glam, you can. You get some greens, some blues, some purples, oranges. So you just get a wide range of color, and I feel like if I had that urge, I would definitely reach for this because this could easily satisfy whatever need I randomly had to play with color. Doesn't happen a lot, but in case it happened, I would want to keep this. And I don't think I really kept anything super colorful in my high-end palettes, so this would really come in handy. So I did pull out from Maybelline the Nudes of New York palette. In my opinion, this is one of the best palettes Maybelline has ever released. I don't think that they have matched this quality since this time. I feel like they peaked with their formula and then I don't know what happened. I have not heard good things about their new shadow blocks. I haven't tried those, but I have not heard good things. So I feel like they peaked and then fell off after this one. This one is an incredible alternative to the ABH Soft Glam palette. This one is just, it has very, very similar shades, and I think you actually get more shades in this one. And the formula is so good. The shimmers are beautiful. The mattes are so blendable. It's so easy to wear. They're also quite buildable. This is such a great neutral everyday palette. It gives you all the staples that the Soft Glam palette does for a fraction of the price. This is such a great palette for Maybelline. I don't know why they never came out with more in this format, in this formula. These are so, so, so good. So this is one I definitely could not get rid of. Next is a newer palette to my collection, but this is also from Colourpop, and this is the Pretty Please palette. So this one I pulled because it's got a more pastel vibe to it. So I love a good, lighter, more pastel kind of look, something that's not too bold, but if I'm going to play with color, this is typically what I want. Just these very light pinks and purples and champagne shades. I just think these are so stunning. You can get a little bit of depth with this palette, but it is really not a very deep palette at all. So the looks are always going to be very soft and pretty. You also get 3 Super Shocks in here. So I think that is also a huge bonus. I think this palette is so pretty. If you're somebody who really needs a lot of depth, then this will not be for you. But if you just really like a very soft pastel looking kind of palette that's very easy to wear, very easy to create with, and it is pastel without being too bold, then this will definitely do that, and I think this would be so pretty. Okay, I actually do have another all matte palette, and this is from Milani, and this is one of their new Gilded Minis in Whiskey Business. I've talked about this so many times at this point. I have only had this for maybe a month or two, and I love this palette. This is such a beautiful, beautiful blendable formula. This is so easy to work with, and it gives you these perfect neutral brown shades. It is so perfect. A lot of people have called this a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Super Nudes. I mentioned it before, but that's a palette that I really wanted in the past, but since I got this one, I have no desire to pick that one up. The Makeup by Mario Master Mattes is also finally back in stock in Canada, and I'm not even interested because I have this and I love it so much. I'm not somebody who goes for a lot of all matte looks. My fingers just naturally end up in the shimmers, but I do love how matte looks turn out. I love how they look on the eyes. I love how pretty they are. I'm just often enough not capable of creating an all matte look, but this gets me so excited to pull out and do an all matte neutral look. Love this one. Another Colourpop palette that I pulled. I know I'm pulling a ton of neutrals, but that's what I wear the most. So I pulled the Clay It Cool palette from Colourpop. This one is also an alternative for the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1 palette. This one definitely pulls warmer though. So if you don't like super warm eyeshadows, you would not like this. I don't always love super warm looks, but I will say these types of shades really bring out my blue eyes. So I do like that. This palette does have one cream shade here in the bottom. I don't think it's the best cream shade I've ever tried, but the mattes in here are otherwise so beautiful. The shimmers are gorgeous. They are so reflective, so pretty on the eyes, so easy to work with. The mattes super blendable. I loved working with this palette. It genuinely felt like they were just kind of blending themselves, which is a quality I often find in higher end palettes. So I really love to see that out of this one. I just think this palette is so great. It's so beautiful, and I highly recommend it, and I would absolutely have to keep it. An eyeshadow quad I discovered late last year and that I genuinely think is a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams palette is from Oma by Sharon C, and this is the Eye Service eyeshadow quad in Dreaming. This quad is so beautiful. These mattes, again, so blendable, so easy to work with. I absolutely love how sparkly these shades are. They're just so pretty, and if you're really into that Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk or even the Pillow Talk Dreams quad, I think you would really enjoy this. I actually like this more. It's just the formula is so good, so blendable, and the price is literally like a fifth of the Charlotte Tilbury, and you get so much more product. So I absolutely love this quad. I really don't know why I don't hear anybody else talk about it. Okay, 2 palettes left, and they are both Colourpop. So I pulled the Making Mauves palette. So I had to keep this one. I think this is so pretty. This is definitely one of my favorites from Colourpop. I don't feel like you can get a ton of depth with this one. You do have this one deep shade here, but that's really it. However, I love a softer look. I love mauves. I love sparkles, and this has all of that. So I would definitely need to keep making mauves. It's just so beautiful. And finally, I of course had to pick another neutral palette, and this is the Not a Box of Chocolates palette. This is just so good. Again, it is a basic brown color story. It does not get more basic than this, but these are all so neutral, so pretty. These shimmers in here are so reflective and gorgeous. This one is actually more of a pressed glitter, so I do think that's a little bit unnecessary, but overall, I love the formula in here. The color story is stunning. I would definitely have to keep this one. It just makes my neutral loving heart very, very happy. So that is it. If I could only keep 10 affordable eyeshadow palettes, these are the 10 I would keep. I would have mostly Colourpop. They are my favorite affordable formula, but with a little bit of Milani, Oma Beauty, and Maybelline sprinkled in. But that is it for me today. Let me know down below your favorite drugstore eyeshadow palettes or your favorite from the drugstore. Let me know. Thank you so very much for watching. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload at least 3 new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!